Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. Hey friends, welcome back to the Breakthrough Brand podcast. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your December if you're listening to this live. I cannot believe we are in the last month of the year. That is so wild. I feel like 2022 has seriously flown by. And I'm at that weird point in the year where I'm like, is it 2023 or 2022? I start to forget which year it is. Does that happen to anyone else where at the end you're like, wait, what year is it? Anyway, that's happened to me a lot. So I'm so excited to chat with you today and so excited about this topic. It's a much requested topic. And we're basically diving into the visual side of your marketing, your business, basically the images and videos you use on your website and throughout your marketing. And this is so important, right? We know that images and video are important. We are visual creatures, and that is true now more than ever if we look at the way social media and technology are changing things. So gone are the days where you can have a website where you're like, I'm just not going to put images on it, or social media or any other part of your business where you're like, I'm going to forgo images and videos. You've got to use them. And the images and videos we use in our business express who we are as a brand, and they might resonate with our buyers or they might not. And they're a vital part of our content creation as business owners, which we know is what drives sales. So basically, it's a really important topic. And I've gotten questions from you guys about this many times. So what we're doing is we are covering these different topics. This is not going to be like a point by point, like tip number 1, tip number 2 type of episode. It's like a bunch of things kind of combined into one. But here's what we're covering. So we're going to start with what even is a stock photo. I won't spend too much time on that because I know a lot of you guys already know what that is. We are going to talk about what it is and how it's different from customized branded photography. We're going to talk about what to look for when using stock photography, like what to look for and what to avoid. My favorite stock photo company. Yes, I'm literally going to tell you guys exactly what I use so that you can use it too. And I'm going to share where I recommend using stock photography versus photos that are customized for your brand, and my own method for figuring this out in my own business, what I do when and how I kind of navigate that, and then how to integrate the two things, so stock photography and your own personalized brand photos, into your marketing seamlessly. So let's do it. I'm excited to chat. So to start, let me say it's unrealistic to think that as a business owner, every single image or video that you use in your marketing or your other content will be something made specifically for your business, because that's a lot of photo shoots and a lot of video shoots with a brand photographer. And you guys know I'm all about working with a brand photographer for our businesses. I've done multiple episodes on this podcast about how to plan for brand photo shoots and what you need and different photos to look for and all that kind of stuff. And I can link to some of those in the blog post for this episode. But the fact is that even with brand photo shoots, you'll likely need more images and videos in today's world and in your marketing. I know I do. You will need images and videos where you're not the key model or the key focal point of what's happening. And often something I run into, and I'm sure you guys can relate to it, but often the images and videos we need, we don't necessarily have to have tons of them. And we might not have the capacity to even shoot with a photographer or get those kind of images ourselves. So for example, I might want an image to show celebration happening among a group of friends to go with a podcast episode that's about community. And that's going to be tough for me to shoot myself. And I probably don't even need a ton of those images. I just need 1 or 2 that vary slightly to go with that episode. So it's that doesn't even make sense for me to hire a brand photographer and get all my friends together in order to do that image, right? That would be a lot of work and more money than what's needed. So that's where stock photography comes into play. And there's so many reasons to use stock photography and videography, but that's like one great example of kind of how it can come into play. So if you're like wondering what is stock photography, stock photos are already taken images by a photographer that you can buy, and some are for free too. So possibly download for free or buy to use in your own projects without having to hire a photographer yourself, which saves money and time. So these are images or videos that are already taken, they're already edited, and they're already ready to go for use. And a cool thing is that when there's a stock image you like, there are usually also other variations of that image, because at least when it comes to paid stock photography, the images are done in shoots. So like you might find one you like, but you're like, wait, I wish it was horizontal, not vertical, or I wish it was farther away, not so up close. And typically, like if you have those wishes, you're going to find there's a whole photo shoot where there's multiple variations of the images for you to work with. So if you do not live under a rock, you have seen a stock photo in your life somewhere. And I find stock photography so fascinating, but stock photos can get a bad rap as possibly being cheesy or having like a certain quote unquote look to them. And there's actually an Instagram account that I love following because you guys know I love memes. It's a good meme account. And they use these cheesy stock images constantly. So look up Middle Class Fancy on Instagram if you want to see what I mean. But I'm talking about like those images where the person's always looking straight in the camera, smiling, and there's a white background, and it just feels very fake and not personalized to that business whatsoever when you see those types of stock images. And Middle Class Fancy, though, is using them like for memes, like those exact types of images. So it's really funny. And then there's some stock images where it's like you're identifying that's the same person over and over again. So if you want a little rabbit hole for yourself, Google the world's most famous stock photography model or some variation of that search, and you can read about a woman who's like known as like she's everywhere. Like she's the most famous stock photo model ever. And once you see her face, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I recognize her. She's in so many stock photos. And I was just reading an article about her where she literally says that like she was in Times Square and saw her face go up on the big like digital billboard basically for some company that was using one of her stock photos. So anyway, that's kind of stock photos. And there's good stock photography, right? And there's bad stock photography. And good stock photography is what I use in my own business, and which is what I am recommending you use as well. So not the person against the white backdrop, not the images that are poorly taken or cheesy and all that kind of stuff. So how do you find good stock photography for your business? I have, how many things here? I have 5 particular things that I would encourage you to look for. These are in no particular order, but are really helpful in like you deciding, is this a stock photo worth using or is this something I shouldn't? So 1, different versions of the images or videos so that you have options. So I was just saying this, but it's really helpful for it not to be like a one-off image, but instead where it's a whole collection of similar images so that you can use multiple variations and have options for yourself of like, hey, I need it horizontal. I need it vertical. I want that person's face in it. I don't want their face in it. I want this angle, that angle, like that sort of thing. Second thing, images that feel like they could be taken for your business, but just weren't. So this is everything when it comes to stock photography. The images you use should have a custom vibe to them that goes with your brand colors and things like that so that it can fit seamlessly into the photos that you did do with a brand photographer. So they need to look like they could go with your business basically. Third thing, diversity of people. And I mean this in every single way. So diversity of skin color, of age, size, all of it. And this is huge, 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 huge. And some stock photo companies really lack in this area where it's just, all white women or all white men, all the same size, all the same age, all that sort of thing. So we want diversity in the people represented in the stock photos. So that's something huge to look for. Number 4, not an image that you feel like you've seen 10,000 times on the internet where it's clearly a stock image. So going back to what I was saying earlier of just like there are those like stock photo vibe memes, like we don't want those kind. It needs to be an image that doesn't look like you've seen it a million times. And then lastly, number 5, you need images and videos that convey the emotional reaction or feeling you're wanting to go with whatever it is you're sharing. So for example, I've used stock images a few times where someone is clearly frustrated, like looking at their computer, kind of with their head down to go with like a course lesson about how to deal with a difficult client. I've used stock images that would resonate with a working mom because it's a baby snuggled up to a mom while she's working at home on her laptop. So that goes perfectly with an episode I'm doing about motherhood and business, right? So it's like conveying that emotional response or just clearly demonstrating whatever it is you're talking about. So that's really huge. And again, that goes back to like why stock photos are so helpful, because I don't have a professional image of me working on my laptop with my baby Colin next to me, so that's where like a stock photo can come in to kind of fill that content gap. Now, what to avoid? So there's a lot of different things probably to avoid, but I have two main things that come to mind. One is images that don't flow together because they're all taken in different styles of photography, different lighting, that sort of thing. So when you use just tons of images from tons of different places by tons of different photographers, there can kind of become a disconnect in your brand because there's not as much cohesion with like, oh yeah, these photos all fit together. And then the other thing to avoid is that all white background, the person sitting in front of the computer smiling cheesily at the camera and that sort of thing, because it doesn't work and it won't feel like your brand probably ever, because it feels like a meme from Middle Class Fancy again. So, okay, with that all in mind of what to look for and what to avoid, if you are thinking, Elizabeth, what do you use? What do you recommend though? You just want to go with that. I'm more than happy to share with you. I've talked about them before a few different times, but I use Hotstock, and that's spelled Haute. So it's spelled like haute couture, but pronounced Hotstock, which I really love. And I've been using their images and videos on my website and in my marketing since early 2020. So about 3 years now. And they fit all this criteria I'm laying out for you, and then some in addition to that. So you've seen me use their stuff over and over again if you've been with my business for a while. And this subscription to Hotstock is key for me to not having to do brand photo shoots all the time, but still have on-brand images to use. And it's crazy. As I'm recording this right now, at the end of 2022, I've actually only done one professional photo shoot all year long because life is crazy being a new mom, and I've been working less. You guys know I've talked about this on the podcast many times. Basically, brand photo shoots have not been a huge priority in this season of my business, but I'm still creating tons of content. And so images and videos to use in my business are still a priority. And so it's really nice being able to have Hotstock to like fall back on, to always have images to use in my business. So they have over 8,000 images and videos. And that number is constantly growing in their library. When you're a subscriber, you have access to all of them. And I have a really cool offer for you guys. So as a Breakthrough Brand podcast listener, Hotstock has hooked you up with a deal to get 15% off your subscription. So go check them out today. Again, seriously, so helpful. You can use my referral code Elizabeth at checkout to get that 15% off. You'll see it applied when you subscribe, or you can go to elizabethmccravy.com/Hotstock and it'll redirect you, have the code in, all that good stuff. And again, that's spelled Haute stock. And I'm also linking all that for you in the show notes. So let me share real quick how it works to find and use stock photography, specifically with Hotstock. And then I also want to get into like places to use stock photography and places that you should stick to your own brand imagery on your website and throughout your marketing. So how to use it though. So once you join Hotstock, you're going to have access to over 8,000 images and videos, and they are constantly adding more. I'm not kidding. Like I am in there daily. It feels like literally this morning, actually, I'm recording this a little bit in advance and I'm prepping for Black Friday. Cause again, recording a little bit in advance, but I'm prepping for Black Friday, and I was in there snagging a few videos to be able to just quickly use on social media during the sale and integrate seamlessly into my brand. So anyway, they're always adding more. There's over 8,000 in there now though. And a cool thing worth noting, it truly isn't just images. They have tons of videos too that are oriented like in the vertical style for social media. And they also have horizontal ones that are going to be good for like a website banner or like a background video on your website at some point. So you get both. And the videos are really cool. They basically have that B-roll footage vibe where it's like something kind of slow moving. They're fairly short. And so you can just seamlessly integrate it into your brand as like background images and things like that over other things you're working with. As a Hotstock member, you also can quickly download photos, videos, and even marketing templates to use in your business. And within your account, you can like favor stuff that you want to be able to quickly come back to. You can search for things based on the color used in the images or videos, if there are people in it or not, technology in it or not, and a bunch of other cool things. So like this morning when I was searching, I literally went in, I filtered the videos, and then I wanted tech in it and I wanted people in it. And then I got to see all the videos that fit that description and kind of sort through and download what I needed. So it's really quick because of all of those search options. So I regularly will go in, I'll be like, I need a video, I need to use my brand colors, I need to not have people in it, I need vertical orientation, I need to relate to this search result, and boom, 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 like I see everything that fits that criteria. And when you are a member of Hotstock, you can also use their Couture curation service. Curation. I said that word really weird, but you know what I mean. So with that though, you simply submit a request with your specific brand info, like your colors, your audience, keywords that go with what you need images for. And then their team literally goes into the library and they personally select images for you based on your branding. So you'll get upwards of like 100 photos and videos that fit your brand vibe in a PDF with a mood board, additional keyword categories to search, all of that kind of stuff to help you be like, hey, this is like what will work well with your brand. So it's very cool. And if you are looking at all the images and feeling like, oh my gosh, you're right, 8,000 images is a lot. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to make sure this works with my brand vibe. They are there to help you with that, which is really, really awesome. Okay, so now let's talk about where you can use stock photography versus where it should be custom to your brand photography. So here are two particular places that I'm going to say you need to have some that is your personal brand photography. So first, on your website, I literally said this on a podcast episode recently, but you need to have some photos that are you and that are your brand. And again, I love stock photography, right? Like this whole episode is me saying like you should start using stock photos if you aren't. But I feel really strongly about this. You can't have a website that is only stock images, especially on your about page and contact page. You need an image of you or you and your team, like whatever makes sense for your particular business, because people need to see the face behind the company. So as you're using stock photos on your website, be sure that you are also putting yourself into the website as well. Second place that you really need to like use your own photos some is on social media. So I really believe, again, I've like beat this drum so much in showing your face on social media, whether that is like the occasional or frequent reels, stories, or posts to your feed with images of you. I do all three of those where I'm showing my face. But that's a nice thing, right, about social media these days. There's actually, I would say, a trend back towards like less curated imagery of yourself and more just like showing up type of content, especially with like the explosion of reels. So you can be present on social media without needing a professional photographer following you around and doing tons of brand photo shoots. But I would say like as you're using stock photography on your social media, put your face in your own reels, be on stories talking face to camera, do post to your feed that's like you with your kids or you on a vacation or a professional brand image, whatever it is. So integrate that all into whatever you're doing with stock photography. So there are obviously a lot more places to use personalized brand photography, but those are like two major places that I think sometimes someone could be like, I'm just going to use stock photos here. And I'm saying like, you need to use yourself and your own brand images there as well. Again, I've talked about brand photography a ton in this podcast. And so right now I want to focus on how to use stock photography. So let's discuss that. So places that you should consider using stock photography in your business. This list is long. And as I was like thinking through this, I'm probably literally going to be forgetting some right now, but these are all places that I personally am using hot stock images and videos in my own business. So first one, on your website. So putting the image or video as a background behind text. I particularly think video is really great for this. It's really easy to do this on Showit, adding a video, making a little parallax, doing a nice, like maybe black overlay, and then doing white text where you're saying whatever it is you're trying to say. It just gives your website a more dimensional feeling. Sales pages are a really great spot on your website as well for stock images, because it really starts to feel redundant on a sales page when you just have images of yourself or your product over and over and over again. So being able to have like, let's say your sales pages for a nutrition program, being able to have some cool, really like on brand images of like health foods or a person doing yoga and things like that is going to really help like fill out your sales page and create the vibe and the mood that you're going for. Another place on your social media. So that can be the main image and video, or it could be used for like the cover on reels, TikToks, backgrounds, with your own stuff over it, like a background stock video, putting your own text over it, all of that kind of stuff. So it's very easy to integrate stock photos into social media. And if you've seen me do things like a booked out designer launch, you'll see this, that like on my stories, I'm often using the hot stock images, kind of integrated throughout to like showcase what it is that we're talking about in the course. Some other ones for Pinterest graphics. Again, putting your own text over it, using a relevant image that relates to whatever it is that maybe the blog post is about or the podcast episode or whatever it is. For YouTube cover images, you guys who are making YouTube videos, that's something a bit different from what I do as a podcaster, but you're having to like create a compelling cover image to go with it. You could integrate stock photos into this. For graphics within your paid content. So this one is a huge, huge way I'm using stock photography. So for things like course lesson cover images. So we do this in my business. If you're in Book.Designer, you've seen it where there, and for the Show Up Blueprint course as well, both of these, I'm doing this. So it'll be a stock photo, sometimes a photo of my own brand, but more often than not, a stock photo that's very relevant to whatever that particular lesson topic is. And then there's text over the image, a black overlay to kind of fade out the image so that we can really read that white text. And that's how I do my lesson covers. Facebook group covers, community post covers. Like if within your Facebook community, you're doing posts about something, being able to like have images with that. Within the PowerPoints for your trainings, your webinar, your course, whatever it is, being able to have those like fill in some spaces is really helpful. Within lead magnets, a great place to use these, webinar graphics, event PowerPoints. Again, if you are like speaking at a conference and you're obviously having a PowerPoint up on the screen, we do not want it all to just be images of you over and over again in different outfits, different locations. Throwing some stock photography in there to demonstrate different points is going to be really helpful. And last one I thought of is for Facebook ads. Again, that's not all of them. There's more places than that. You might have even thought of some as I was talking just now that you think like, oh yeah, for my business, that would be a great place to use a stock photo. But those are some kind of ideas to get you rolling. Okay, so now let's talk about how do you integrate the stock images of like all those places you're using them with images from your own brand photo shoots you've done over the years and make it feel seamless. So first of all, you need to use quality stock images that match the criteria I laid out and focus on images that match your brand's aesthetic, which sometimes you might be like, oh, I love this image, is so cool, but it doesn't really feel like your brand. In that case, it might be a time for you to like admire the image and then be like, okay, my brand, this image is really fun, but my brand's more sophisticated or whatever it is. Make sure you're matching your brand's aesthetic. It's okay if the viewer knows that it likely is not an image you commissioned to be made. I think that's an important thing to point out as we talk about stock photos. So for example, I just had my Booked Out Week promotional period about a month ago now, and I used some hot stock videos of 3 women toasting champagne in party clothes. And I put the Book.Designer logo over it. And I was using that video on social media with a link to like get info about Book.Designer. I did that multiple times throughout the sale. And I know when people see that, they are not thinking Elizabeth and her friends like got a professional videographer and made this short like toasting champagne video in like New Year's Eve type clothes. That doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter if someone realizes that I did not make that video and that I'm not in the video and that sort of stuff. It doesn't matter because it conveyed the emotion I was going for of celebrating the program, celebrating people joining it. And that video actually fit into my brand vibes well. And it was totally fun to engage with and watch, and it was professional and it fit my brand. So it's okay if people know it's a stock photo. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at there. And my advice for like how to integrate the stock photos into what you're already doing is to see it as a back and forth. So some stock images here, some brand images here. It's now a stock photo, now an iPhone photo, now a stock image, now a stock video. So going back and forth. And for video stuff on your website in particular, when we talk about having video as like a background, I would actually say in those cases, you can lean heavily on stock videos a lot more and it works awesome. So go with your gut and your own creative eye of what to use everywhere. And I would just say too, like if you start looking at your brand and you're like, everything is a stock photo. Where am I in this? That's when you know you have a problem, because we need to be able to look at your stuff and see where you are, see where your products, yourself, if you're a personal brand, fit into it all. And when you start to feel like you've disappeared, that's where I'd say you've gone too far on the stock photo front. But it really is just a balance, a true balance and a back and forth. And again, I think like, as someone who is like a busy working mom, I am like this year in particular, I'm like, man, I've used stock photos so much. And with that, I've seen lots of success with the different brand assets I'm making using these, whether it's been like, a course lesson cover, a PowerPoint for something, or a new freebie I've created that use stock photos, like whatever it is, I've seen like success with it. So I hope this encourages you and gets you excited and gives you a jumping off point for using stock photography and videography in your business. Again, I cannot recommend using stock photography enough for taking stress off of you with the content creation process and helping you have more imagery and videography to work with within your business. And if you want to go with the stock photo company I use, again, check out HotStock. Seriously, they are the best. They are genuinely nice people that care about your small business and seeing you succeed. And they literally like you guys, which is why they wanted to sponsor this podcast. So check them out. Use the code Elizabeth for 15% off your subscription, and just enter that code when you go to subscribe in the referral code box. Or again, you can go to elizabethmccravy.com/hotstock, spelled HAUTE stock, and then have the code auto added for you that way. And do let me know if you've joined. Like literally go check them out. Tell me once you're a member, like what's your favorite image collection? They're always adding more. But I love it whenever I get an email that they're like, there's a new collection. I love going to look at it. And my answer to like what my favorite collection is literally always changing because they're always adding more. I will say though, I really, really love a lot of their like working mom collections, because I found those really useful for different podcast episodes I've done recently. So anyway, that's it. Check out HotStock, get the 15% off with Elizabeth. And I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you have a great rest of your first week in December. And I'll be back next week with another fun episode for you guys. So talk to you then. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode all the way until the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my website template shop too. Over on elizabethmccravy.com, you'll find show it website templates that are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. Maybe it's a challenge to update, and maybe even it's that thing that you really feel like is just completely holding your business back. Your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers, and that's exactly what my M-Shop templates do. So these are pre-made show it website templates where you can plug and play your content into it with ease and then get started with a website that's designed to actually help you make more money. These templates are designed to be SEO friendly on the back end, and they're not just pretty, but they are very strategic and with all the strategies I teach on this podcast. And best of all, they're easy for you to set up all by yourself. So shop them at elizabethmccravy.com/shop and come join the M-Shop family of hundreds of happy customers. And as an added perk, you can use the code BBPodcast at checkout to get 10% off any template as a thank you for being a part of the podcast family. So that's BB Podcast for 10% off any template over at elizabethmccravy.com. And if you love this podcast, don't forget that you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and leave a rating and review for the show wherever you're listening. Share it with a friend, share it on Instagram or Facebook. That's a great way to support the podcast and get the word out. All right, I'll be back next week with another new episode.